Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. So, over the weekend, I was exploring some mono red. I was doing best of three, and then I was also exploring mono red prowess. And so, this is where I landed with the mono red prowess build. And so, if you compare this to what I talked about yesterday in my best of one meta review, it's a little less creature centric. So, I decided to drop two of the cacophony scamps. We're going to be leaning into doing the double damage in other ways. We are also going to be dropping one of the Callous Sellswords. So the Scamp is better if you're going to run the 3 copies of the Callous Sellsword. I dropped the 2 copies of the Kenris Spell Spear and 2 copies of the Picnic Ruiner. I was finding that this one was, now that people know how dangerous it is to leave a Picnic Ruiner in play, it's not as good, in my opinion. The one that I think catches people off guard is Pyrotechnic Performer. And because a lot of the prowess lists are running the 2/1 Fugitive Codebreaker. And so when you play this out as a disguise creature, a lot of people think that you're just like trying to rebuild your hand with the Codebreaker. And then if you hit this with a whole bunch of combat tricks and it's unblocked, it deals double damage similar to Picnic Ruiner. The downside is that it costs 3, so it's a little bit more expensive. As far as the spells go, I decided to up the total spell count. So just dropping the Felonious Rage down to 2. This one works better with the Picnic Ruiners to be able to give them haste the turn that you play them and get that double strike going, get their power up. I also decided to drop the 3 Mirren Bane Splitters because we're lowering the amount of the Picnic Ruiners, and I feel like that's really where the synergy of that card really lies. I dropped the Antagonize down by 2, and brought in some of the burn spells so that we can do some direct damage instead of just combat tricks. So running the 4 copies of Play with Fire. I did bring in 2 Blazing Crescendos as a alternative to Antagonize to play with the Dig. Since we are going to be playing a slightly higher land count, Blazing Crescendo allows us to then potentially hit into another playable spell, and actually can end up doing more damage than the Antagonize by double spelling with your prowess creatures like Slickshot Show Off. And then I have 2 copies of the Demonic Ruckus. I think plotting this on turn 1, just the whole point of this deck is to set up a 1-turn kill off of your Slickshot Show Off. So while you're building the board, I've found plotting a Demonic Ruckus is perfectly fine. This is probably the weakest card, I think, as far as what could be potentially replaced. And then 2 lightning strikes for the direct damage. And then, like I said, I increased the total land count to 18 from 17 by adding in Ahsoka-san's Crucible of Defiance, because the Pyrotechnic Performer wants you to have 3 mana, and if you have 4 mana, then you can play it and immediately flip it up to do its reveal. So with that, I'll showcase some of my favorite matches and go over the more than 50 match summary at the end to talk about how the deck performed. And if it's anything like the weekend, I'll show you guys my stats on the weekend. It was insane. So I hope you enjoy. All right, we're going first. We do have 2 lands, which is nice. Part of the reason why we're able to get away with running 18 lands is because of the best of one hand smoother. This one was looking like we go turn 1 Kumano, and then whether or not we play out the Slickshot or if we go for Monastery Swiftspear, it's going to kind of be the deciding factor. Looks good enough to keep. We could also do the Pyrotechnic Performer. Kind of depends on what our opponent is bringing at us. But I like the turn 1 Kumano play. So let's see here. Black-white. Could be the black-white Tithing Blade deck, which really focuses on making you discard. I think I'm just going to go for deploying threats here, and Slickshot Show Off is likely to get removed the turn that I play it. I'm going to do the Pyrotechnic Performer on 3. I'm not going to be attacking with the Monstrous Rage. Could plot it until I play the Monstrous Rage and Swiftspear on turn 4. Especially if they're going to start making me sacrifice creatures. I think I'll go with plotting it. I missed the token from the Kumano, and that's definitely a choice you have to make with this deck, is whether or not you get the +1/+1 counter or not. And generally it doesn't get around cut down, so I think plotting is usually right, because then you can get more value out of it later. And again, I want to save playing the Slickshot show off for when I dump all of my prowess cards, or all of my spells. So right now it's looking like I play the performer, and then the next turn will be turn 4 will be where we unleash hell. If they use a cut down here, that's good, because then they're not saving the cut down for the Slickshot show off. Okay, March of Wretched Sorrow. Discard 3 for 1. Oh man, because they don't want me to give it extra life. Wow. Okay, well that's a lot of value from our opponent. And if they Tithing Blade, then it kind of is unfortunate. Let's see if they're doing the Nurturing Pixie Tithing Blade strategy. So they're completely passing here. I think I'm going to go for continuing to deploy more, like build up the prowess turn. So I think I play Swift Spear out and then swing with both. And then probably plot the Slickshot show off. Okay, so I could Monstrous Rage and flip this up to hit them. It's better if we get the double damage, though. And then this is fine. Figured maybe we'd end up sacrificing that anyway. We could go for the double prowess. We could play Slickshot, show off here, and go for double prowess. But I'm going to go for one more turn. And the downside with the plot is they can see it coming, right? So they should be saving up like double interaction to remove both Slickshot show off would be pretty devastating here. And then they're just removal.deck, which this deck can struggle with the interaction, especially against black. Celestis. Okay, so that means they've got 2 mana. Unless it's double cut down that they're holding, this should be good. So I really like the Ancestral Angers in the deck. I do feel like they're core to the deck, because when you use this sorcery speed to boost something, it's likely to draw out the counterspell or the removal from your opponent, rather than waiting for when they play the Monstrous Rage, which your opponent should wait for you to play the Monstrous Rage before playing out any removal. So if they take away the Swift Spear here, that's great. They have no more cards in hand. It's for X equals 3? Oh no. I can give this +2 toughness so it doesn't even die. Yeah, that was not a great play by the opponent there. That's probably just going to be a scoop. And we're dealing a metric ton of damage. Oh, Xaxes. Let's go. Okay, again, we have the 2 mana. That's really what I look for, as whether or not to mulligan. We've got a turn 1 Cacophony Scamp or Swift Spear. Probably turn 2 plot the Slickshot show off. And we've also got the Felonious Rage. We can hit Cacophony Scamp with a Felonious Rage to hit for 6 and make another 2/2. Not a bad way to go. I think I'm going to lead out with the Scamp just because of the potential to hit for so much more damage. Opponent has to mulligan. Alright, opponent had to mull to 5. Sorry, bud. Oh, in the festivities. Wait, what your main decking in the festivities? All right, we have choices here. We can go Slickshot Show Off and plot it, or we can go Swift Spear and Scamp. Since they just did the in the festivities, I'm kind of tempted to go this route, since we don't want to be attacking here later anyway. So let's just get in for the cheeky damage. I guess I could have also done the Cacophony Scamp and hit for 6 with the Felonious Rage. Now, this is where math is hard, right? So we have 3 mana, so we can play the Slickshot Show Off outright. Felonious Rage, the Cacophony Scamp, hit for 6. This will hit for 2 for 8. And then Slickshot Show Off will hit for 3. So that's a total of 11, I believe. So that's not enough. So what I'm going to do here is go for the greed, plot the Slickshot Show Off, and then we'll do both of these next turn. Hopefully the Scamp connects. So you can get turn 3s with this specific build with that Cacophony Scamp. We would have needed like a Monstrous Rage and an Antagonize, but that would have done the trick. So let's hope they don't have the 1-turn kill at 19. It is possible. Okay, starting with Kumano, that's okay. It's 3 damage. Leaving up 2 mana. They could have removal of their own. So they might remove what I cast the Blazing Crescendo on. So I'm going to cast the Felonious Rage first. Hopefully we have enough here. So Slickshot Show Off. Might draw the removal on Slickshot Show Off as well. I think I have enough here between these two. Well, I think that's a lethal if they have no interaction. There is a pause though, so there is likely to be interaction. Right now we're hitting for 9, 11 damage, puts them to 5. I was really hoping they would use something here. This kind of forces the matter. Good news here is that they do use removal on Scamp, then we're okay. And they're done. All right. We're not okay. If they use it, I think they go to 1, and we get the but we get the 2/2 back. All right, so this happens quite a bit with a low land count. These are the kind of hands where I'm going to mulligan. So we only have 1 land. Once you have 2, you should be okay. And then as far as what your weakest card is, it's kind of contextual, right? So Swift Spear, Ancestral Anger lets us draw again if we're targeting the Swift Spear. We don't really have anything to build here. The play with fire is kind of like slows your opponent's tempo down. Pretty good use for removal. So since it's going to take a little while to hit into our thing, I think I'm going to get rid of the Demonic Ruckus, because we don't have the Slickshot in hand. Again, that could be very, very wrong. It's just my, like, this is card draw, this is card draw. This is going to help us stall the drawing into more threats, is my logic. Let's see, did our opponent have to mulligan as well? Oh my goodness, mull to 3? Well, that's not even a game. What the? Oh man, they must have a really low land count. Oh, is this Boros? This is the Boros like heroic. This is pretty sweet. So we can do the Ancestral Anger and play with fire on their Slickshot, and then they have 1 card. That's pretty hard to say no to. They probably just scoop too, and then we hit land 3. That's great. Yeah. Mold a 3 non-game. I'll include that one just because it talks about the mulligan strategy. Alright, we have 2 lands for this one. Opponent is on the play. We have Kumano into Swift Spear. Hopefully hit land 3 for Pyrotechnic. Can draw on the Ancestral, so it's probably Kumano into Swift Spear draw with Ancestral Anger. Seems doable. Ooh, or just play Swift Spear into another Kumano. That's alright. Blue-black. Okay, could be up against Control. Okay, discard. Ooh, buddy. I think I'll discard the Pyrotechnic Performer. This one, we don't have anything really great like the Monstrous Rage to do it, and we're struggling to find land drops. So this is better later in the game if it comes down to it. Could play it out as a 4-3, but against black, it's not as strong as if you were up against red. So, seems like a pretty okay one to ditch. And this is just like classic mono red pressure right here, right? We could also Ancestral Anger and look for land, but I like to get those Kumanos out as early as I can. Get them and flip them into 2/2s. Chump blocking there seems odd to me. Usually you want to wait to chump block until later. I guess the upside here is they know I don't have Monstrous Rage, so I can't trample over. Alright, what is this? This is looking like some sort of Dimir mid-range deck. This would have been a nice moment to play the Pyrotechnic Performer. If I had known I was going to draw a Lightning Strike, I would have ditched the Lightning Strike. Ancestral Anger does give trample too, which is a nice upside. I think there's a chance that the Swift Spear just dies here, so maybe I should have targeted the Kumano. Yeah. Did that a little quickly without thinking. Because I would have rather they removed the etchings of Kumano here. And then whether or not we need to hold the Lightning Strike to have enough juice to make it to ending the game is tricky. I don't like holding it against black with the discard strategy that we saw with the Unscrupulous Agent. I'd like to try to get my hand empty if I can. But this might have been a little bit too much from... Yeah, Hostile Investigator gets the Lightning Strike. They get a clue token. So the discard form of Dimir midrange is pretty good against Azorius Control. I think we should be able to pressure enough here to get through, but it's possible the mulligan's going to hurt a little bit. Trade this in a heartbeat for 1 damage, right? Okay, and this is where the low land count comes into play. We better not draw any more lands. Hostile Investigator does not create a clue token if your opponent's hand is empty. But 4/3 stops are 2/2. I guess we're gonna go for the Blazing Crescendo. Any reason to do it? Well, I guess I don't think there's any reason to not just attack. I guess I could hit a Sorcery Speed. They're gonna trade 1 for 1 with this anyway. Play with Fire would have been nice. I can scry with it at least. Maybe I could keep back instead of trading with the Hostile Investigator. Try to draw into something that removes the Hostile Investigator so we can get in for damage. We need to hit like a Slickshot show off or something. Kumano's probably not enough, but it... Yeah, I don't think Kumano's good enough here. I basically need to like draw into 2 threats, which is why I like the Blazing Crescendo for these moments. I think where I screwed up was ditching the Pyrotechnic Performer with how this played out. because it would have been able to get maybe enough damage to kill for 10. Yeah, and that's just flood. Draw 5 lands. This is like I'm running 20 lands instead of 18. It's not that bad of a flood. It's a really bad time to draw land. Alright, so we go to 12. Is there any way into this? Maybe with a Slickshot. Slickshot show off into antagonize would be 7 damage. We're not dead yet. But if they have any interaction in their hand, we're basically dead. And they've got the ability to draw. Okay, so I'm talking Numa here to get back the unscrupulous agent. Really? I think they were trying to get additional draw from that, because it doesn't seem like that's particularly worth it. We're dead in 2 turns if they activate the Restless Reef. I hope they don't. I guess they don't need to do it this turn. So I need to draw into Blazing Crescendo or Ancestral Anger. There needs to be, I need multiple spells because Antagonize doesn't do it. So this is looking like the first loss. Oh, especially with the Binding Negotiation to hit the Slickshot show off. That's gonna be the nail in the coffin right there. I'm gonna just see for fun what we draw. Rabbit Hunt, for the poker players out there. And is a Cacophony Scamp. Does that change anything? No, I don't think so. Technically, we live for a turn. But I can't think of any single thing I could draw that would actually be a win. GG. Okay, we got the 2 lands. That's good. We've got Cacophony Scamp and Picnic Ruiner. Choice will be whether or not we go for the turn 3 win with Cacophony Scamp, plot Slickshot show off, and then play 3 spells. With this hand, we could actually deal enough damage. We'd need to get one more like pump spell, I think. Because, let's see. So Cacophony Scamp plus Monstrous Rage is 8 damage. 10 damage. Play with Fire. Slickshot show off gets +5. Yeah, I don't think we can quite do it. Let's see, Picnic Ruiner. Picnic Ruiner is like the Cacophony Scamp. So I think I want to try to draw a land and plot the Slickshot show off. Looks like we're up against Selesnya enchantments, maybe? Maybe it's like Selesnya poison. If we draw the land, though, we get the hit. Slickshot show off hits for 7, and that puts them to 12. Ooh. Double we could do Ancestral Anger into Monstrous Rage and try to hit lethal. It's gonna be close. I think it's worth it. Let's try it. They missed a land. Hey, there we go. I think that's gonna be enough to do it. So Monstrous Rage plus Play with Fire, I think does it. Monstrous Rage hits for 10. Play with Fire. This pumps up to 5. Am I 1 damage shy? Could Kumano if I'm 1 damage shy. 5. 10 damage. 2. 12. 17. I have 17. Might have counted this wrong. So I'd rather finish off with the Play with Fire. have him at 1. Wait, so that means it was lethal with Play with Fire, right? I think it was. Man, this deck is hard to calculate sometimes, though. Where did I... Oh, because it's the 3rd. I missed this being 7 damage. So Play with Fire, Slickshot, Show Off, plus Play with Fire was 9 damage. So we just needed to do 10. Play with Fire was definitely lethal. Alright, there's my first punt. At least the one that I noticed. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. As you can see, this deck hasn't been doing as well now that I'm in Diamond 3 or whatever, Diamond 2. But from Platinum all the way to Diamond, it was smooth sailing, which is why I had to show you guys this. So the deck went 45 and 21 in a little bit under 5 hours, 75% on the play, 60% on the draw, and it does great against the other mono red decks. We usually have enough damage to actually get them a turn before they do. Azorius Control was more of a coin flip. It was a little bit of a tougher matchup. Really, that one comes down to whether or not they get the counter spells off at the right time and whether or not they kind of reset everything with the temporary lockdown. But still a winnable match where we can just pressure them. I do feel like it is favored. Boros Convoke felt really unfavored for them because they don't have a really great way to deal with the plotting, waiting Slickshot show-offs that are just going to end their day. Same with the mono white. So anything that, like, they could have Get Lost, and occasionally they did, but even then, the game still felt winnable. The Orsov discard deck, I actually bumped into a fair amount. This one, again, feels favored. This one's better against punishing the control matchup. The one that I struggled the most against was Dimir. Dimir Control, I think more so than the Dimir mid-range matchup. Bumped into that one a couple of times. Bumped into Celestia Enchantments, which also felt favorable. And then just a bunch of one-ofs, right? And so outside of like one bad matchup, right, this deck is destroying. And the real thing that drew me in and the reason why I've been playing this deck so much is because the 3 most common matchups I've been experiencing on the ladder are Mono Red, Azorius Control, and Boros Convoke. And this deck is positive against all 3. It's positive in the data against all 3, so this I feel like is a really good pick for the current meta. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember to click like and subscribe if you like to see these sort of things. I'm trying to do more gameplay videos, so we're shifting things around, always exploring, and yeah. So if you're new here, welcome to my community, and I hope you have fun crushing your games on the best of 1 ladder, and I will see you all later this week for some more Magic the Gathering content. Take care, everybody.